Hello, welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning and Zoning Committee. It's Tuesday, June 17th, 1:02 p.m. I'm the chair of the committee, Andrew Owen. I'm joined by my vice chair, Scott Reed, here in chambers. I'm joined by committee member Betsy Rui, committee member Kevin Bratcher. I'm joined by Councilman Herndon. Committee member Bat Shawn is here and will be back in the chamber shortly. Committee member Josie Raymond has an excused absence, and I'm sure we'll be joined by the rest of the members shortly. We're going to move a couple of things around on the agenda. We're going to start with item 13. I also need, is there anybody, nobody's online, so I guess we don't need to read the virtual disclaimer. So we're going to start with item 13, which is O-145-25, an ordinance relating to the planned development option for property located, nope, I'm sorry, that's not the one, that's not it. We're going to start with item 14. R-073-25, a resolution requesting the Planning Commission review an amendment to the Land Development Code to adopt the alternative regulations for zoning map amendment procedure as outlined in KRS 100.2111. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Properly moved and seconded. Brian?
I'll defer to the county attorney's office.
County attorney.
Travis Feaster, Assistant County Attorney. So this is an idea that's sort of been floated around for a while. Some other counties do it as well. It's an alternative way for the development process to occur. It's generally similar to what council currently sees, what Louisville Metro currently sees. I think the major exception here would be that unanimous decisions from the Planning Commission would not automatically come to council. There's a procedure in the KRS for that to sort of be called up, either from any aggrieved party or from council itself. This is just sort of the initiating resolution to review a potential change to that process. Can answer any other questions, but that's what this resolution does.
One of the things that we didn't spend a lot of time on, but I think it's important to note that anything that doesn't come in front of us, the staff doesn't have to spend nearly as much time on. So I think from one of the things that's kind of a silver lining here is that it kind of relieves some of the load from our planning staff, which is, I don't know, Brian, maybe from my perspective, is a good thing. Let's see here. Anybody? I don't see anybody in the queue. Anybody have any questions or comments about this item? Okay, so this is a resolution that calls for a roll call vote.
Voice vote.
Sorry, voice. Thank you. A voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. For now, let's put it on the consent calendar, and we'll see where we go from there. All right. The next item is item 15, R-075-25, a resolution requesting the Planning Commission review an amendment to the Land Development Code, Chapter 1, to extend the expiration date of approved development plans for affordable housing to 5 years. Could I get a motion?
Motion.
Properly moved and seconded. Travis, are you going to speak to this one as well, please?
Sure. So the basic concept here, generally development plans have a 2-year expiration date. So if you don't take a substantial step as defined by the Land Development Code, then you have to seek extensions of those. The first one's generally sort of given at staff level. After that, it goes to Planning Commission hearing for additional extensions. I have been told that, and I know that affordable developments have a lot of sort of, depending on whether they're state or federal or a combination, complicated deadlines to try to all meet at once. And that 2-year timeline isn't always feasible for them to actually get funding. And so some of these were being granted with, or requested with some regularity. And so extending the 5-year window for affordable projects will increase the likelihood that they develop without having to come back and request extensions. After that 5-year period, they'd be on the normal track, so they could request additional 2-year extensions, one from staff, one from Planning Commission, and so on. But it would just be that initial period. It's also worth noting this is for what I call big A affordable projects. It's not just throwing around the term affordable. It's actually defined that it be contained in the binding elements or condition of approval or some such. And if for some reason a project were to move ahead, get all the way through the process and then reverse course and not be an affordable project, we'd have some sort of accompanying form that would require them to pay, or rather, would reduce their expiration back down to that 2 years. So it'll be a little bit more language than we're used to. Not something you all would necessarily see, probably an affidavit or the like in some conditions. That's the thought process, and I can answer any questions.
Don't see anybody in the queue. Anybody have any questions or concerns about this resolution? Without further questions, this calls for a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. We'll also move this to consent for now. Okay. I think we'll go ahead and go back to item number 1 at this point. I want to wait for, Councilwoman Chapel has joined us virtually, and committee member Shamika Parrish-Wright has joined us virtually as well.
Now we have to read it this
So because we've been joined by members virtually, we need to read the disclaimer into the record. Cheryl, can you do that for us, please?
This meeting is being held pursuant to KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A, read in full.
We've also been joined by Councilman Jeff Hutzman. He's been here basically since the beginning, and I failed to acknowledge his presence, so sorry about that. Councilwoman Chapel is joining us to discuss item number 8. So I think, which item is it, Councilwoman Chapel?
Items 2 and 8.
2 and 8?
Yes.
All right, well, let's go ahead and start with go back to the top of the agenda, and we'll start with item number 1, and then we'll get to those shortly. Item number 1 is 0-110-110-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 8803 to 8897 Old Bardstown Road, containing approximately 6.02 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24, zone 0105. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Move.
Properly moved and seconded. Brian?
All right, good afternoon, Brian Davis, Louisville Metro Office of Planning. This is ordinance O-110-25 and Planning Commission docket number 24, zone 0105 for the Goodwill at Old Bardstown Road. The property is located at 8803, and actually it's 8807, we discovered this morning, so that was a typo. Old Bardstown Road. The project's located in Metro Council District 22. The property is an existing residential property. They are proposing an office and commercial type of use here on the site. Here on the aerial photo, you can see that it's located on a piece of property located between Old Bardstown Road and Bardstown Road at Fairmount Road. The property is currently zoned primarily R4 with a little bit of C1, as you can see, located on the northern end of the property, located in a neighborhood form district. The applicant is proposing to change the zoning to C1 and OR1. So the change in zoning is a request that was before used to change from R4 and C1 to C1 and OR1. The Planning Commission took action on waivers and variances, and then there is a revised detailed district development plan with binding elements associated with this. The property in question is approximately 6 acres. They're proposing 3 detached structures for offices and one 16,000 square foot structure for retail. A portion of the site, as you saw on that map, is currently zoned C1, which is under case number 96788, which is subject to general plan binding elements. This is the development plan that was reviewed by the Planning Commission, so you can see the proposed buildings here. We do have some elevations and renderings that were provided by the applicant as part of their testimony at the Planning Commission meeting. Here is an elevation for the proposed Goodwill Donation Center. This is another elevation of that building, and another. And then you can see the proposed design of the other three buildings in addition to the Goodwill Center shown here on this elevation. And a zoom in of those three. So this is the subject property. Again, there's an existing single-family residential structure that will be removed. These are some adjacent properties. The applicant conducted their neighborhood meeting on June 5th, 2024. The Land Development Transportation Committee meeting was on February 13th, 2025. And then the Planning Commission public hearing was on April 10th, 2025. The Planning Commission made a motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning from R4 and C1 to OR1 and C1. That passed by a vote of 8-0. That's all that I have unless you have any questions for me.
This is in Council District 22. I'm sure Councilman Bratcher would like to speak to it before maybe we get started here.
Well, I'm confused on where, I thought I was up to date on this. Where are the entries to it? What roads are the entries?
So all the entrances come off of Old Bardstown. Well, there's entrances off of Old Bardstown Road, and then there's also an entrance into the Goodwill Donation Center from Fairmount. So there are no in and out points of egress to Bardstown Road.
Yeah, so there's 3 entries.
So you have an entrance here. This is, yeah, okay, so and it's kind of hard to see with the contours on this one. But you have the entrance into the donation center from Fairmount Road. And then, let me look here. Man, there's one right here on the far north end of the property. And then the other one.
You just walked over the other one.
Wow, this is hard to read. The other one is between the donation center and then this 6,000 square foot proposed building, so right here. Yeah, so there are 3 points of egress into the property.
Okay, yeah, this was well on its way when I took office, and, Goodwill's a very good operation, and it's just, my poor little roads out there are getting just hammered. That old Bardstown Road, it's barely 18 feet wide, and we're just keep adding to it, but, are you asking me to move it, Chairman, or? No. Okay. No, that's
Just
all.
thought you might want to
That
speak to it.
concludes my comment.
Since it's in your district. Thank you. Brian, is this the one I was reading about, there was a fee in lieu that was going to be paid for lack of sidewalk along Bardstown Road? Was that this one? Can you speak to that a little bit? While you're looking for that, I'll turn it over to Councilman Batchon. He can ask his question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian, thank you for being here. Thanks for the presentation. Obviously, you're going to have some questions that you're looking at for Chair, but my questions are, I guess, in regards to infrastructure, right? So Bardstown Road obviously is pretty good sized, and this is, the entry points are going to come in off of Fairmount Road as well as Old Bardstown Road. With those I'm looking at the photo with the site view of the actual roads. They look like old county roads. I mean, are we going to be doing anything from Public Works side, or is the developer going to bring these roads up to code to be able to handle that type of traffic and infrastructure? And then my second question is there a stoplight at the intersection of Fairmount and Bardstown Road, or Old Bardstown Road, for the traffic that's going to increase there?
I don't think there's a light at either one of those intersections. On Old Bardstown Road and Fairmount, there are no proposed widening shown on the plan. I mean, they'll obviously have to do cuts to put in the new ingress and egress points, but there's not a widening there. Sidewalk will be provided along Old Barstown Road and then a portion of Fairmount, but then fee and lieu will be used to satisfy the requirement along Barstown Road and the remainder of Fairmount Road.
And there's no, is there a stoplight on the state road, Barstown Road, the bigger portion of it?
I don't
Coming into Fairmount?
think there is at that location. I'm looking at the aerial, I'm not seeing anything on the pavement that indicates that there's a stoplight there.
With, Mr. Chair, with all due respect, I think that, I think these developments need to happen, and I think we are on the right track of net positive growth in our communities. But to Councilman Bratcher's point, I think it's hard to, this is a pretty intensive commercial development that's going to create a lot of movement. And they're already having some struggles on Barstown Road. What do we do in the sense of looking at some of these concerns before we can move this and see if we can do anything to mitigate some of that risk? Safety-wise, I guess you would say.
You're asking me that question?
Well, I mean, I'll just say that in the traffic impact study that was provided on behalf of this, when you're looking at the build versus no build, you're looking at primarily, you got a mix. It's pretty crazy. But so at Old Barstown Road and at Fairmount Road, you have a existing C with the build to be a C in the AM, and then a B to a C in the PM. At Old Barstown Road, at the northernmost entrance, you'd have a B and an A for AM and PM. So, I mean, the worst case here is a Fairmount Road on eastbound would go from a C to a D in the AM, but then it would be a B, it would remain a B in the PM. So a little bit of impact on morning traffic on eastbound Fairmount Road, but the other scenarios are relatively, Bs and Cs, so.
So I mean, I think we're looking at a few things, the system development charge that we're looking into to see if we can try to help bring our infrastructure up to par. But then I would also say, and I know the mayor's going to talk to the state legislature about this, but you go out in the state and they've got beautiful roads all over the place, many of them that have no traffic on them at all. And so we've had a structure for years that sends way more of our infrastructure money, for our road money, out in the state than to Jefferson County. And I would hope that the mayor and the state legislature can work together to bring some of that money into Jefferson County so we can bring the infrastructure up, because otherwise we're going to have no economic development, no growth. And if Jefferson County doesn't have any growth, then the state of Kentucky doesn't have any growth. I mean, it kind of comes down to that. So I'm hoping that conversation can be had and we can make some progress there. Yes.
To my point, I think, I don't disagree with you, Chair. I guess the question goes back to Brian, is there anything we can do to add a stoplight, add the turning lanes, add the infrastructure that needs to be done on Old Barstown Road and Fairmount and State Road, Barstown Road, 31W, there, so we can, to make this happen? I don't think we want to say no to this. I think we just want public safety to be top of mind. As we know from a couple meetings back, we had the traffic study guys in here and basically said, we do kind of what the developer really wants, essentially, and there's no recourse or accountability and follow-up after it's been developed. So I'm just trying to forward think here and trying to help move this along at the same time.
In all fairness, I don't think that's what I heard from the guys, the traffic study guys, that they have professional accountability. I did hear them say they don't go back years later and look at the traffic study and at least not every time to see if their predictions were correct. I did hear that. But I did not hear that they basically do the bidding of the developers. And so I just wanted to, I didn't hear that, so.
Right, and until the traffic warrants a signal, I mean, there's nothing that we can do. I mean, if we knew that the traffic that was going to be generated from this was going to push it beyond the warrants that the state uses to install traffic signals, then we could ask for a contribution there. But this isn't generating that enough traffic on its own to make that kind of request with this particular development at this time, again, because the warrants aren't there at Fairmount and Bardstown Road.
Vice Chair Reed.
Well, I was going to withdraw because Councilman Batcham essentially said what I was going to say. So the developer commissioned the traffic study, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Old Bardstown Road is not a state road.
Correct.
Bardstown Road is a state road. So I guess my question would be, do we know the condition of that road? Do we know how that road's been rated? Is it slated to be improved in any way, paved in the near future? Is it on this year's paving plan?
I mean, there aren't any notes in the plan about any future pavements along the road, but I mean, again, nothing was required along the old Bardstown Road frontage, so like, between Public Works and the fire comments that we received, nobody requested that it be widened in this particular location.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilman Bratcher.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I was just going to kind of expound on your question. You're absolutely right. We get, the last study or the last program I heard, we get 40 to 45 cents on the dollar of the gas tax we send to Frankfort and Jefferson County. And believe me, there's been a lot of discussion on that, but the thing is, you have this formula of fifths, and you have 16% of the legislature in Jefferson County, and 16 just can't pull the day when you have 100, say you have 100 state reps, you got 16, their friends, their family, whatnot, but why would they give up the dollars that they're getting? And it's just a real screwball system, this formula of fifths. And Jefferson County gets really the short end of the stick. I appreciate Councilman Bashan and his concerns on that. I have those concerns. Like I said, this was already in the pipeline. Apparently some binding elements had already been agreed to when I took office. So, I don't want to get us a bad reputation if we don't follow through, but I am seriously, I have a heck of a resume in policy making, but this planning and zoning procedures is just like day one for me. I don't understand a system where I got to keep my mouth shut on so many things in this committee, or some folks will take it to the courts. I'm not used to not standing up for what the citizens of my district want. I'm trying to finagle my way and learn the ways to be effective on. Sure, we love it, say Fern Creek, and this affects all of you guys. I'm not saying this is only Fern Creek, but that is my district, my home. And sure, it's great that people want a part of Fern Creek. It's got a lot of farmland and trees and whatnot, and people want to come out there, and it's a growing area. But I am just trying my best to walk in this minefield of how to represent my district and also bring good, responsible development. Because it just seems like the rubber stamp gets the go-ahead so easy from what I've seen. And that's just, I know that we have property rights versus neighbor rights, and that is something usually the courts step in on, because America's promise is that everybody has a right to their property and what to do with their own property. But, I'm just trying my best to figure out a way, and I've learned from some great folks on the council and in the planning commission, and to repeat myself for the third time, this thing has already been in the pipeline, so I say let's vote on it.
Councilman Hudson.
Yeah, I think I heard testimony here that there's no new road developments on the books, and I would just question that. The Cooper Chapel connector is like a half-mile south of this, which will draw a huge amount of traffic. I think that project needs to be considered in the decision-making process of this project.
That it? All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else have questions or concerns? I don't have anybody else in the queue here.
Mr. Chair, not to interrupt, there is an amendment on the system. I don't know if that was going to be called or discussed, but I just thought I'd point that out. There's a proposed amendment on the system for this case.
Okay. Can you give us a little color on that amendment, please?
Sure. So it would limit the number of stories in the C1 portion of the site to 1 story, and the building height to 25 feet. It would limit the stories on the OR portion of the site to 2 stories and 35 feet. And then there's a list of uses proposed to be bound out, similar to the other 2 cases along Old Bardstown Road that were in Councilman Bratcher's district last cycle. I think it's a mirror of some of those, some of the more, traffic intense or otherwise impactful uses. I can read all those if that's helpful again.
So whose amendment is this? Who proposed this amendment?
I mean, it's one I've been working on Councilman Bratcher's office with. I didn't know.
Should I call that amendment? Is that how it works? Or is the binding element already attached, or do I ask for it to be attached?
It's not on the case yet. It is on the system, but just sort of as a proposal. I don't think as a non-member, can he make the motion for an amendment?
If it's in his district,
Is he,
can he make
okay, I know he could vote.
Well,
So
I
you
am a
can't make the motion.
member of this committee.
Yeah, he's a member
Oh,
of this
you are a
committee
member.
too. Yeah.
Sorry. So yes, you can make the motion, but it's not formally accepted yet, no.
Oh, accepted by who?
By the committee. So go ahead and make the motion and we
Oh.
can vote.
Because Goodwill has accepted it, right?
Yes, yeah, they've agreed on the
Right.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I call that amendment,
Okay.
binding element.
All right.
Or both.
I guess second. Thank you. Amendment moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the amendment has passed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
Councilwoman Parrish Wright.
just want to say thank you. Thanks, hearing the commentary on this. I don't have a dog in this fight too much, but we did get some emails from people. I just want to say that I agree with Councilman Bratcher, as I see the same struggles with just trying to, for things that happened to council people before me, trying to get a fence replaced where people were displaced when the airport was built. And just watching how complicated this is, it makes it hard. And the reason why I've been trying to get on the Planning and Zoning Committee is so that we can right some of those wrongs. So I'm encouraged that we can do better. We can work on legislation all year round, and that we can get this in a better way. But I agree with what I've heard. And then the strongest laws are around land ownership, and it really makes it really hard and complicated. But just seeing what you're experiencing there, what we're experiencing with trying to get a fence placed on Manslick, where seniors are trying to just make sure that they have what they need, that's the part that makes it frustrating with this job. So I just want to say that I hear that. I also hear that it's been in the pike, and I know that Goodwill has come back and they agree with the binding elements. So I want to support this because it's been down, it's already been in play. But just hoping that we as a planning and zoning committee could do more to deal with some of these issues on the front end. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Batchon.
Just, and this might be a question for Travis, do we need to add that standard binding element, Travis?
It is already on the amendment on the system, so as
Sounds
long as we're
good.
adopting that as is, there's no additional action needed.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anybody else in the system. Anybody else have questions or concerns about this? Okay, time to vote. Cheryl, can you bring it up?
Oh, you didn't read the amendment.
Committee Member Parrish Wright?
Yes, Cheryl, thank you.
Thank you. Yes votes.
Thank you, Cheryl. With 7 yes votes, this will move to old business on the next Metro Council agenda. All right, next item on the agenda is number 2, 0-120-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 1325 Texas Avenue, containing approximately .1387 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24, zone 0133. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Brian?
Okay, this is ordinance 120-25 for Planning Commission, docket number 24, zone 0113 for Texas Deli and Restaurant. The property is located at 1325 Texas Avenue, is located in Metro Council District 15. This is an outline of the property shown on an aerial photo. The existing use is office residential, and the applicant's proposing commercial use. This is a zoning of the area. As you can see, the property is currently rezoned OR1, located in a traditional neighborhood form district. They are proposing to go to C1. You can see that the properties surrounding are primarily R5, and then you have C1 back up towards, Goss Avenue. So the request is a change in zoning from OR1 to C1. The project was previously rezoned from R5 to OR1 under docket number 22, zone 132. The site consists of one parcel with a mixed-use structure and a detached garage. The detached garage will be converted into a restaurant. The main structure will be used as a restaurant and deli with outdoor seating. This is the development plan that was provided by the applicant with the application. So you can see that the existing structures would remain, and then they would be adding just a dumpster area and then an outdoor dining patio, which you can see shown in the hatched line here. This is a photograph of the subject property. This is a view from Ash Street. Here's another view from Texas Avenue looking out into the site. And these are some of the adjacent parcels, or adjacent properties are located in the vicinity of the structure. The applicant conducted their neighborhood meeting on September 30th, 2024. Land Development and Transportation Committee meeting was on March 13th, 2025. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on April 24th, 2025. The motion was to recommend denial of the change in zoning from OR1 to C1. That passed by a vote of 7-0. That's all that I have, unless you have any questions for me.
I'm going to turn this over to Councilwoman Chapel because she may have some information on this case for us before we start debating its merits. Councilwoman Chapel?
Thank you so very much, Chair Owen. Well, I will be speaking in direct contradiction to what Councilman Bratcher was just speaking on, and I think by the end of this, you'll pick up on that. A little background, in 2023, when I first got on Metro Council, this property was rezoned from R5 to OR1, and this was to accommodate a barber shop that had been operating in that space. I have lived in my home for 15 years, which is 1 block away from this location. If I go out my front door, I can see the front door of this property. I've only known this location to be a barber shop, a sneaker shop, or vacant. This location is a block away from the intersection of Goss and Texas, where Bean Coffee, the Pearl, and Neon Vintage, Neon Flea are located. If you go another block in the other direction to Hickory Street, you will find Pop's Place, Jmar Sushi, and the All Wool and Yardwide Democratic Club. If I continue going out block by block, we'll be here for a long time. Otherwise, I recommend that you come visit Schnitzelberg. We have a lot of wonderful local businesses. This particular building will be a reuse of the existing space. The second floor is already a short-term rental. The building sits on the number 43 bus line. So if I came to City Hall from my home, I will be catching that 43 bus line 1 block away at this location. And both the property owner and the tenants live less than 2 blocks away from this property. As you can see in the record, and I hope that you've had a chance to look it over, but there's both opposition and support for this project. The opposition expresses concerns over the dangerous roadway, which will remain dangerous no matter what this property is zoned as. Okay. And it will remain dangerous no matter what this property is zoned as. And my office has been championing changes to this intersection, although we haven't been able to get traction with Public Works. But I don't feel like that should impact this case. There's also opposition over the sale of alcohol, but I will remind everyone on this committee and on the Planning Commission that is not determined by zoning, and that is dictated at the state level. That'll be a separate hearing if you'd like to give public comments on that. The project proposes an outdoor dining area on the property, which is a concern for outdoor noise, which I believe can be addressed through binding elements or alterations to the existing plan. And I would like to note that there is already a binding element on this that would prevent outdoor music or entertainment on the property. While I understand and empathize with these concerns, I literally have a beer garden in my backyard, literally. I don't want to prevent a local business by local people who are committed to curating exceptional dining experiences from occupying this space. Maybe I'm selfishly looking forward to buying a quart of potato salad at a deli down the street from my house. That to me is a far cry from a lot of the watering holes that we see popping up around here. Simply put, I believe that the Planning Commission got this one wrong. And although I believe that bias was expressed, although I believe bias was expressed by our Planning Commission, I do believe this goes to highlight one of the more problematic issues that we have with our notices and the information that is being presented for consideration. Remember, this project was approved by Planning and Design. The staff finds that and this is me reading directly from the report, staff finds that the proposed zoning change meets the guidelines of the comprehensive plan. The waiver and revised detailed district development plan are adequately justified and meet the standards of review for the Land Development Code. With no obvious red flags, or in my opinion, reason for denial, I can't understand why our Planning Commission denied this 7-0. There wasn't a single person on our Planning Commission that said, hey, why are we voting no for this? And I think that that is problematic. So I am, skip this part. Had the applicant, tenant, neighborhood, or otherwise anyone else anticipated this being such a controversial case or it being denied, I can probably guarantee that there would be more letters of support for this than there would be letters against. I could be wrong, but we can see. So I'm requesting that this legislation be amended, and I have a proposed amendment, and it should be in the system, that this be sent to the Planning Commission to consider a CR zoning, and the Planning Commission give this further consideration, and I am asking my colleagues to join me in doing so. I can answer any questions to whatever extent, but I just wanted to speak my piece, and hopefully we can make sure that we're getting a good local business in this wonderful neighborhood space.
Thank you. Brian, I didn't see anything either where the Planning Commission gave a whole lot of explanation for the denial. Did I miss something in that regard?
If you watch the video, there was discussion about traffic generation and potential there. In the land development code and traditional forms, when you're reusing a structure, there are no parking minimums. And so, but all of the members expressed concern about traffic generation, and then that kind of next step going from an OR1 to a commercial use. I mean, that was some of the discussion that was had during their when they were giving their opinions.
Okay, Councilwoman Rui.
So with parking being a concern, how many diners are they expected to have at this? It doesn't seem like it's a very big place. It wouldn't generate that much traffic.
I mean, again, you're looking at a very much local neighborhood level establishment. It's not necessarily going to be, it's certainly not out for a drive-through or anything like that. And, there's no parking on site, so I mean, any parking would be on site, on the street, so. And there was no traffic study that was required of this development, so.
So do we have any idea, I guess, per fire marshal, how many people they're allowed to have in there?
I don't know if that was necessarily discussed as part of this. I mean, the structure, the footprint of the structure is 1,300 square feet. It's a two-story building, but I don't think both, the second floor is for short-term rentals, so you'd only be looking at about 1,000 feet on that first floor. I don't know the fire marshal rules on that, but.
Yeah, it doesn't sound to me like you're going to be generating that much traffic, frankly. Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question is for Councilwoman Chapel. How many businesses within a certain square mile are currently zoned for commercial in that area?
I have no idea.
So are we talking
Can I
about,
phone a friend on the planning and design?
I mean, I don't have a number per se, but I mean, as you go to the northeast on Texas towards Goss Avenue, then Goss Avenue is primarily commercial. And so over there, you have, a number of commercially zoned businesses that are along that frontage.
okay, and I don't know the area very well, but how far is that from?
I mean, it's a block from Goss. I mean, here's the area. Cheryl, can you put the thing back up? Thank you. So the site's in red here, and then this is Goss Avenue right here.
Okay.
So it's a block away.
So
And if we can keep that up, the business that's on the corner with the large parking lot on Goss, I mentioned the three businesses, Bean, Pearl, and Neon Flea that's right there. But that one is a tool repair company. So if you have like a drill that goes bad, you can take it there. The large parking lot right there, that is a Kroger, and there's a ton of other businesses there, such as the tax place, chiropractor, Chinese food. And then at the other end of Goss, you have Millworks Place, you have Louisville Vegan Jerky in their factory and facility. But in between those points, you have a myriad of businesses.
Yeah, so this isn't anything that would be, earth-shattering in terms of being completely new to the area. So I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make. I was telling Councilman or Chair Owen a minute ago, in all the years I've been on planning and zoning, I believe this is the first time that I've seen a council rep wanting to overturn a unanimous vote in denial. So I think this is a very unique situation, and I would be very supportive of sending it back for reevaluation.
So I'll just add that this neighborhood is one of the few historical neighborhoods where corner commercial was every corner just about had commercial on it historically, and not all of them continue to, but most of them still do have corner commercial. So this is not out of the ordinary in that neighborhood. Let's see here. I have, Councilwoman Chapel, did you get to say what you wanted to say?
No. I did want to say that when we're considering these cases, we not only need to consider the neighborhoods and areas that they're going into, but also what the future of those areas could be. And as somebody that's a proponent of good urban design that encourages walkability, I would like to encourage our committee to look at this and say parking would be an issue if you're trying to park at the door, if you're trying to park so you don't have to walk more than 50 feet to get in the door, then that might be problematic, but that's problematic already. You're probably not going to do that. And for myself, I do not have a garage. I don't have off-street parking. And I have to check myself when I am not able to park right in front of my house. A little tiny bit of me gets really enraged, but then I have to say, hey, if I want to live in a walkable neighborhood that has these kind of amenities and these kind of businesses, I need to learn to sacrifice a little bit. And that might mean parking around the corner. And so hopefully the residents will have their parking. Like I said, I live across the street from a restaurant, and from the time that I am here in the morning and the time that I'm here at night, it's kind of opposite schedules of parking. And so I hope that residents are able to have their parking. And then those who are coming to visit have to park a little bit further. But goodness gracious, I hope you enjoy our beautiful neighborhood while on your walk.
Councilman Hudson.
Thank you, Chair. I've heard several today talk about the results of the traffic study that the commission looked at and dismiss it, saying, well, we really know the area, we are willing to sacrifice those kinds of things. And I just find it ironic that when we're talking about a traffic study that comes from the Traffic Commission for an area outside the Waterson that says it's going to be minimal impact, but the people that live in those areas and know that it's going to be an impact are told, trust the traffic study. And in this case, we just want to waive that off. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Well, there was no, just for clarification, there was no traffic study for this one because it didn't generate enough trips to warrant such, so.
But didn't we just talk about parking? Isn't that part of the traffic study?
Well, there's no parking requirement for the site either because of the parking rules, but that was some of the discussion that the Planning Commission had, and that was brought up by some of the opposition who were there that day. They were just concerned about additional overload in the on-street parking that is in the area.
Well, I wasn't going to bring this up, but now that we're in it. I also find it ironic that when the Planning Commission votes in a very narrow 4-3 vote, we have to trust the Planning Commission. When they come with a solid 7-0, we want to turn it around. I just find that laughable.
Councilman Batchon.
Yeah, so thank you. I have maybe two questions here, right? One in regards to the traffic and whatnot, and then two, we send this back, Brian, and maybe this is a question for you. We send this back to the Planning Commission and they come back with another 7-0 denial. What is that? What does that look like? I've never seen that.
We've had cases where it has been remanded back to the Planning Commission and then the decision did not change.
Or the recommendation.
Or the recommendation did not change. And so, basically, if you're sending it back, we would conduct a new hearing, and then they would make a recommendation based on the new hearing that they conduct.
Right, and in this case, the amendment by substitution would be for the Planning Commission to consider whether CR zoning is appropriate as opposed to the C1 zoning, which is a little more intense. That was heard by it originally.
CR is more intense than C1?
C1 is more intense, CR is less intense.
Okay. What is the crime study in that area, risk terrain management on that space? Maybe that's an issue of why the parking is and the traffic is going to be heavy. I'm just trying to understand what was in their head of why the 7-0, but also just get some clarity here.
And this is Laura Ferguson, Assistant County Attorney. I sat in on that hearing at Planning Commission, and in addition to what Brian said, I think some of the concerns were the outdoor dining in such close proximity to the immediate houses, because the people who came and spoke in opposition were the people who were right next door. The one woman talked about how where some of the restaurant, which is the garage, was literally 3 feet from her back door. Another one talked about how their property bounded on it. So I think some of the concerns of the commissioners, in addition to the parking, was the intensity of the use as opposed to OR, which is a barber shop, this outdoor dining, the impact on the immediate neighbors who did show up they were the ones who spoke in opposition.
Okay. Mr. Chair, can I ask a follow-up, please?
Go ahead.
And I don't know if it's warranted in this committee or not, or if it's an offline question, but if it was sent back, and maybe I'm asking for personal opinion, Ms. Ferguson, from C1 to CR, is that more likely to change their opinion?
I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
With your experience, would that be better for the constituents of that direct area?
I think the main change between CR and C1 as applied to this particular property is that when you are a CR zone, you can only really have outdoor dining and outdoor alcohol for 6 months of the year, seasonal, as opposed to C1 where it's year-round.
Understood. Thank you.
So we have an amendment on the table. Councilwoman Chapel.
The queue, thank you. It's now, okay, now I can request to speak. So, regarding crime, I don't know what the crime is. I live in a very safe neighborhood and I'm privileged to do so. However, I wouldn't leave my car unlocked at night because there might be somebody a kid that comes around and tries the door handles, but I also wouldn't leave my car unlocked on my parents' cul-de-sac. So just wanted to say that. And crime and zoning, I don't know how those two impact one another. Also, as I understand it, all of the terms can be negotiated when it's sent back to the Planning Commission. So right now, the hours of operation, I think, are limited to 11 p.m. That could be amended to where there's no outdoor hours after 9 p.m. There's no, a smaller outdoor area. There's, I think that instead of saying no to this completely, I think that we need to send it back and there needs to be more earnest conversation in it instead of people feeling like they really need to draw a line in the sand. And I think that Councilman Hudson brings up some very valid points, although it does highlight a greater issue with our city-county merger and the ideology of those who live in more densely populated areas versus those who choose to live in a more suburban setting. And so a lot of times our ideas will not meld, but I would also like acknowledgement that my neighborhood is not your neighborhood, and that's all I have to say.
Vice Chair Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This will be a quick question. In the Planning Commission meeting, did they cite the current council noise ordinance with regard to noise? Did they make mention of that?
I mean, there was testimony on behalf of from the opposition citing noise concerns. I mean, I don't think the existing site has any kind of noise issues, but they were concerned about the proposed use and potential noise that may come up. I mean, we typically have, and if you look, there's usually a binding element there that like music and speakers can't be heard beyond the property line and things like that, and those are in compliance with the noise ordinance, which is enforced by the LMPD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember the specifics, how many feet, et cetera, but they did not make mention of the noise ordinance with regard to this particular establishment projecting out that far or anything like that?
I don't recall there being any discussion about how far noise may go beyond the property line for.
Okay. Are there any other establishments that have outdoor dining in that area?
I'd have to go back and look. I mean, I think you have some outdoor dining areas up along Goss Avenue, but I don't know about along
Monic
Texas.
checks the Merriweather, Hopatomica, Hauck's, Pizza AF, The Post,
Just to name a few.
north of Bourbon. Yeah, I mean, a ton.
Okay.
So we're holding 3 other items today to allow the person in the district where that proposal is to negotiate with the applicant and try to come to some sort of consensus. And in this case, the way I understood it from Councilwoman Chapel is it sounded like the applicants were really surprised that their proposal was denied, and so they were completely caught flat-footed. And so what I think we're doing here, if we choose to remand it back to the Planning Commission, we're creating an opportunity for that discussion to take place, similar to holding it here at the committee level or tabling it. So that's why I'm going to be in support of this, to hopefully get them back in conversation so they can help work some of these things out, hopefully. And if it comes back to us with a recommendation to deny, I think then that, I don't think any harm will be done if that occurs. So, Councilwoman Rui.
Thank you. Just one quick question. What is designed as a barrier to separate the outdoor dining area from the house next door?
That's what I was thinking too, but double check. So in order to provide the buffer, they would be required to have the LBA and then a fence, LBA's landscape buffer area, as well as a fence. And so you would have probably an 8-foot fence that would be proposed there. And then to the rear of the lot, that garage basically forms a barrier between it and the properties that are located kind of to the south of it. So, I mean, you wouldn't have well, they're still showing a landscape buffer area back there, or some, but then, you primarily have the building acting as the buffer between the outdoor areas and anything to the south. But then, going back up towards Goss, there would be some fencing.
And how far is the property line from the house next door?
That, it's not shown on the plan, so I'm not sure. I mean, I don't have a way of measuring that, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I will be voting in support of sending this back. I'm just curious. I want to make sure the neighbors are taken care of. Thank you.
So what do we need to do here then? Do we have, I don't know that, there's an amendment in the system, right?
Yeah, Laura Ferguson, I believe there's an amendment in the system. If not, I can read it into the record. So if somebody wants to move that in, you could vote on that amendment by substitution.
Okay, can I get
Really quick. Oh, I just wanted to say really quick, in the documents that's provided with this case, the very last one, 24-zone-0133 boundary exhibit, that is a good overview and kind of gives a little bit of measurement on the property and then the next door neighbor. But remember, this property sits on a corner, so it only has a neighbor to the side and a neighbor to the back. And the garage spans the entirety of the backyard, so that in itself is a buffer.
And
I just want to let you all see that.
Laura, do we think that Councilwoman Chapel, even though she's not a member of the committee, can motion that amendment?
Yeah, we were just talking amongst ourselves because she's allowed to vote because it's in her district. She could also move to introduce the amendment.
Okay. So Councilwoman Chapel, do you want to just officially make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I think the ayes have it. So we have the amended version in front of that. Council, did you have something that you wanted to? Vice Chair Reed, are you in the system that you know? Okay. Okay, Cheryl, can we have a roll call vote on the amendment?
Councilmember Parrish Wright.
Thank you, Cheryl. A vote yes is to send it back, right? For the amendment.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilmember Chapel.
Yes.
Voting's closing. Chair, you have 4 yes votes, 3 no, and 1 present.
Okay, the amendment passes. So we have the amendment in front of us. Do I have any more discussion or conversation about what's,
So Chapel voted, so there's 4 yes votes. Sorry.
any other conversation about this? Okay, so we have the amended version in front of us. Cheryl, can we open the voting?
Councilmember Chapel? The final.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Chapel?
Yes.
Councilmember Parrish Wright?
Yes.
Councilmember Bratcher?
I'm so confused.
So what you're voting yes for says we're voting for the amended version and it will be sent.
Present.
to the Planning Commission.
Councilmember Betchon?
Present.
Oh, you didn't have the voting.
How did they vote then? Chair, you have 4 yes votes and, no, and 4 present votes.
Okay, this will
That's
be,
right. There's 3 yes, 4 present.
so what was that, Councilwoman Chapel?
Oh, and it said that it was 4 and 4, but it looks like it's 3 and 4, so it
It's 4.
is moved forward without recommendation.
No, it's 404, right? Which moves forward with a approved recommendation.
Right, this is Laura Ferguson. I think she's, because that doesn't reflect her vote,
Right.
so her vote gets added to the summary, which is how it's made 4-4.
Thank you.
And so that will be on old business at the next council meeting. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item. Item number 3, 0-121-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 6422 and 6808 Billtown Road, containing approximately 21.5 acres and being in Louisville Metro. Case number, is this one that I'm supposed to be holding? Case number 24, zone 0137. Can I get a motion? Probably moved and seconded. Brian?
Okay, this is case number O-121-25 for Planning Commission docket number 24, Zone 137. It's for Billtown Mixed Use. The property is located at 6422 Billtown Road. This is located in Metro Council District 22. The property is outlined in the heavy red here. Is currently a residential / agricultural use. The applicant is proposing residential and commercial use. This is the zoning of the area. It's currently zoned R4. The applicant's proposing R6 and C1. You have primarily R4, and then you have some C1 on the opposite side of Billtown Road here. So the request before you is a change in zoning from R4 to R6 and C1. The project's approximately 21 and a half acres. They're proposing 3 C1 tracts and then 1 R6 tract, which would be, you'd have multifamily residential on that site. So this is the makeup here. So where Gale House comes across Billtown, or would come across Billtown Road, you have proposed commercial along that frontage, and then with multifamily frontage that would extend back behind that down to the Gene Snyder Freeway. These are some of the elevations that were provided for one of the commercial uses, which would be a proposed Wawa. The applicant is proposing some road improvements in the area in order to facilitate the additional traffic that would be generated by the commercial and the multifamily uses. So you can see the additional lane widths and turning lanes that would be provided at the Gale House Lane and Billtown Road intersection. This is the subject property, looking into the subject site. This is the rear of the site, and then this is the existing intersection at Billtown Gale House Lane. So the applicant conducted their neighborhood meeting on September 10th, 2024. The Land Development and Transportation Committee meeting was on March 13th, 2025. The Planning Commission public hearing was on April 24th, 2025. The motion was to recommend approval of the change in zoning from R4 to R6 and C1. That passed by a vote of 7-0. That is all that I have for you, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Brian. Councilman Hudson? Councilman Bratcher.
I would like to move the binding elements, the standard one, and any others.
I can, yes, so there is an amendment attached in the system. So this would limit buildings in the C1 zone portion of the site to 2 stories. There is not a similar sort of limit on the R6 portion. It's already got proposed 3 stories for the apartments there. There are some uses being bound out as well in the C1 portion. That same sort of banks, credit unions, savings and loan language from before. Bowling alleys, charitable gaming facilities, dry cleaning, dyeing, pressing, et cetera. Dwellings, multiple families, if the density exceeds 17.42 dwelling units per acre. So if the commercial portion were to redevelop to multifamily, it'd be limited to R6 density. Extended stay lodging, hotels and motels, packaged liquor stores, and pawn shops. Those are all the additional binding elements that are proposed, and I can answer any questions.
Does that cover what you expected it to be on there, Councilman Bratcher?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't have anybody else in the queue. Anybody else have anything on this one? Okay, Councilwoman Rui.
Okay, now I'll turn the microphone on. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, tract 1 is a Wawa, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and tract 4 looks like multifamily housing.
Correct.
What are 2 and 3?
So on 2, they have show like a coffee place. It's a general plan on that portion. And then on tract 3, sorry, they're showing proposed restaurant with outdoor seating on that site.
Okay, how many units are in the multifamily housing?
240.
This is a huge, intense development on what is currently a rural road. Okay. Thank you.
I could answer that. So it's, it's right next to the interchange, and, in my little world, building next to a interstate interchange is the way we should be doing all of our business. But Billtown is a decent road. And it's so close to the interchange, I don't think it's going to add that, the traffic will be slight.
Thank you. I also wanted to point out that it is a mixed-use development, and we hear all the time from our colleagues that are trying to encourage mixed-use development in their districts. And so I just want to call that out because I appreciate, when developers do bring us things that we have been asking for. So I just wanted to call that out. Anybody else have anything on this one? Without any further questions, Cheryl, can you roll? Oh, I'm sorry. Did we get the amendment? We got a second? Yes. We have the amendment in front of us. All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against?
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. The amendment passes. So now we have the amended ordinance in front of us. Anybody else have any comments before we vote on the amended ordinance? Cheryl, can you open the voting, please?
Councilmember Parrish Wright?
Yes.
Thank you. Voting's closing. Chair, you have 7 yes votes.
With 7 yes votes, this will be moved to old business on the council agenda, Metro Council agenda.
That's okay.
The next item on the agenda is number 40-141-25. 4 is one we're holding, I think. Okay, we'll be holding number 4. Number 5. Yeah, okay. Councilman Hudson's done you a solid, Councilwoman Chapel. We'll move to 8 while we have you here. So we'll go to 0-146-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 3145R, 3147, 3151, and 3153 South 3rd Street Road, containing approximately .54 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 25, zone 0006. Can I get a motion? Probably moved and seconded. Thank you, Councilman Hudson, for reminding me. Appreciate it. Brian.
All right, thank you very much. This is ordinance 014625 for case, for docket number 25, zone 0006 for Dutch Brothers Coffee Shop. The property is located at 3145 to 3153 South 3rd Street. Is located in Metro Council District 15. This is a very close-up view of the aerial photo of the site. So this is the corner properties off of South 3rd Street that go along Central Station Boulevard back to the Kroger, which you'll see on this zoom out here. So you have corner properties here, and then you have the shopping retail development to the rear. The property is currently zoned R6. The applicant is proposing to change that to C1. So the request before you is change the zoning from R6 to C1. There are 4 vacant properties which would be consolidated into 1 half-acre property, and then there would be a drive-through coffee shop with a walk-up window proposed on the site. This is the site development plan that was provided by the applicant and reviewed at the Planning Commission meeting. So the building would be located up on the 3rd Street frontage, and then all the access would come off through the rear back there towards within the retail development portion of that, and then you would have a walk-up window also. So this is a photo of the existing property right here, the vacant part. These are just some surrounding views of the area. The neighborhood meeting was conducted on December 18th, 2024. Land Development Transportation Committee meeting was on March 27th, 2025. The Planning Commission conducted their public hearing on May 15th. The motion was to recommend approval of this change in zoning from R6 to C1. And that passed by a vote of 9-0. That's all I have unless you have any questions for me.
Councilwoman Chapel, would you like to speak to this since it's in your district and you've been waiting to speak to it?
Sure, no problem. Well, also, I think that they got this one wrong with a 9-0 vote. I'm just kidding. Hopefully this one isn't as contentious, you guys. So, as we heard, it's a Dutch Brothers coffee. I'm not into coffee. I don't even know if I'm really that into drive-throughs, but I think that the neighborhood would easily absorb this as a Dutch Brothers coffee. I'm not getting the public comments to load, but I'm sure that the biggest voice of opposition in this would be the Starbucks that's at the adjoining parcel next door. But otherwise, I think that this has my approval. I think neighbors and people in the area are excited about a Dutch Brothers coffee. I'd mentioned this to Churchill Downs, and interestingly, this was back in April, but they said that Dutch Brothers may have a horse contending in the Kentucky Derby this past year. I don't know if that was ever proven to be true or not, but here nor there, asking for you all to vote yes on this.
Councilwoman Rui, you have questions about this?
Thank you very much. First of all, that's right outside my favorite Kroger. And Starbucks actually has a store in the Kroger, too. They're going to be having some competition. But it is a step up from the Dollar Tree that was originally proposed there. So I'm happy for that. I've got a question, though, about the layout. Because the property lines leave out that weird little weird little rectangle. What is going to be done with that?
That appears to be right-of-way.
That's right of way?
Yes.
Okay, so is it supposed to be left as grass? Is it going to be landscape? Do we know anything about that then?
It will be whatever Louisville Metro Department of Transportation wants it to be. So, yeah, it'll be just left as is, yes.
Okay, Councilman Chapel, we have to figure out something to do with that because we know if we don't have a good use for it, it'll have a problem use.
Thank you. I don't have anybody else in the queue. Anybody else have questions or concerns? All right, Cheryl, can you open up the voting, please?
Councilmember Parrish Wright,
Yes.
Councilmember Chapel,
Yes.
voting's closing. Chair, you have 8 yes votes.
All right, with 8 yes votes, this will be forwarded to old business on the Metro Council agenda. Thank you, Councilwoman Chapel. Next item on the agenda is item number 6. 5, is that what I have? Item number 5, 0-142-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 6700 Strawberry Lane containing approximately .645 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24, zone 0126. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded.
Motion.
Ryan?
Okay, this is case number O-14225 for docket number 24, zone 126, auto body shop. The property is located at 6700 Strawberry Lane, is located in Metro Council District 25. This is the existing aerial photo of the site. You can see it's an existing commercial use, which will continue to be commercial. It's located at the intersection of Strawberry Lane and Estelle Avenue. The applicant is requesting a change in zoning from C1 to C2. As stated here. So it's approximately .6 acres. It is the applicant's proposing a 10-bay auto repair garage. So with it being more than what a C1 would permit, that's why they're requesting the C2. The existing building is to be demolished, and then the entire site will be enclosed by a fence with access via Estelle Avenue through a proposed gate. The commercial use is located to the north and the west of the site, with the residential to the south, which you'll see in a moment. So this is a portion of the development plan that was provided by the applicant. You can see the 2 proposed buildings here. Access will come off of Estelle Avenue, and then you have parking, which will be located behind the front. So like the Strawberry Lane is over here on this side of the picture to the right. These are some elevations that the applicant provided. So this would be facing the Estelle Avenue frontage. This is the elevations to show what the elevation would look like from Strawberry Lane. This is the front of the site looking from Strawberry Lane into the site, so you can see the existing structure that is there, which would be removed. These are some of the surrounding properties, more surrounding properties. The applicant conducted their neighborhood meeting on July 23rd, 2024. The Land Development Transportation Committee meeting was on March 27th of this year, and then the Planning Commission public hearing was on May 29th. The motion was to recommend approval of that change in zoning from C1 to C2, and that passed by a vote of 9-0. That's all that I have, unless you have any questions for me.
This is in Councilman Batchon's district. Is it correct?
Yes.
Would you like to speak to it, please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak to it, so thank you. So, obviously, it's a dilapidated area. We want to see improvement. We want to see growth. They're going to tear the building down, and they're going to build a new structure with, a good modern look. Correct me if I'm wrong, in our binding elements, we make sure that there was no packaged liquor store, smoke retail, game rooms, tattoo and piercing parlors. Is that correct? And then, again, we want to make sure that the binding elements are held to on this, as well as a good modern look for the area and the community. One thing I didn't see on there, Brian, is the sidewalks. Are they going to be putting sidewalks in?
So they show, there's a 4.5-foot sidewalk along Strawberry Lane, which will be brought up to current ADA and Metro standards, and then there's a 5-foot sidewalk for Estelle Avenue.
Okay, and then my final question on this, is there a way, and this might be a question for Travis, to, I'm trying to find the right words, to limit the amount of tires left on the property not covered or in a bay of some sort? It's just been brought to my attention over a couple other cases in the district. We have one place over off Old Third Street that had about 1,000 tires just sitting outside at one point, and we want to do something to mitigate that and figure that out. Is there something in here we can incorporate that?
So that kind of outdoor storage, I think, would be sort of generally problematic from a zoning perspective. If you want to, I hate to on the fly give you the sort of absolute number on what a visible tire outdoor might be, because you can probably advertise a product sort of on a corner if you wanted. So not something we can do on the fly. I'm happy to take a look.
Yeah, can we just look at it? Move today. Let's look at it over the next week and then kind of come back to it before it comes to full council.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anybody else with questions or concerns about this one? Cheryl, if you'll open up the roll call voting, please.
Voting's open.
Thank you.
Councilmember Parrish Wright. Councilmember Parrish Wright.
Yes.
Thank you. Voting's closing. Chair, you have 7 yes votes.
Thank you. With 7 yes votes, this will be moved to old business on the Metro Council agenda. Next item on the agenda is item number 6, 0-143-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of property located at 941 East Main Street containing approximately .382 acres and being in Louisville Metro, case number 24, zone 0132. Can I get a motion? Properly moved and seconded. Brian.
Okay, this is ordinance 143-25 for Planning Commission docket number 24, zone 132. The property is located at 941 East Main Street. This is located Metro Council District 4. The property is outlined in red here. As you can see, it's an existing commercial area, and they are proposing commercial. The existing zoning is CM at the front, so along the East Main Street frontage is CM, and then at the rear it's R6. They are proposing to rezone all this to C2. So the request is a change in zoning from R6 and CM to C2. The existing parking lots previously served the plumber's supply building. The applicant is proposing to rezone to C2 to allow for the continued use of the existing parking lot. As you can see, it will continue to operate as a parking lot, and it would be rezoned to C2. This is just some photos of the existing property here, and then these are some of the adjacent properties. This is back towards the rear. Oh, sorry. And then this is across Main Street, right across from the Lincoln School. So the applicant conducted a neighborhood meeting on September 26, 2024. The Land Development Transportation Committee meeting was on May 8th, and then the Planning Commission public hearing is on May 29, 2025. The motion to recommend approval of the change in zoning was from R6 to CM, passed by a vote of 9-0. That's all I have. Unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Ryan. Councilman Herndon was here earlier and got called away, but he has expressed his support for this item. It's in his district, Council District 4. Let's see here. Councilman Batchon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for clarity, we're rezoning the parking lot to C2 to leave it as a parking lot, is that correct?
That is correct.
Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Okay, do we need to add a standard binding element to that? And if there's any changes or whatnot, to come back to council? Just out of precaution, I would ask for it in my district that way, but I was just.
Councilman Herndon didn't
Yeah.
ask for it, so I think we'll just move forward as it is.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? Cheryl, if you open up the roll call vote.
Vote is open. Councilmember Parrish Wright,
Yes.
voting's closing. Chair, you have 7 yes votes.
With 7 yes votes, this will be moved to old business on the Metro Council agenda. The next item is number 7, 0-144-25, an ordinance relating to the zoning of properties located at 4201 Taylor Boulevard and 1056 Bluegrass Avenue, containing approximately 1.7 acres and being in Louisville Metro. Case number 24, zone 0138. Can I get a motion? Properly moved.
Motion.
Properly moved and seconded. Brian?
Okay, this is O-144-25 for Planning Commission docket number 24, Zone 138 for a medical office. The property is located at 4201 Taylor Boulevard and 1056 Bluegrass Avenue, located in Metro Council District 21. This is an aerial photo of the existing site. Taylor Boulevard is over onto the left side of the photo. It's currently in institutional use, and the applicant's proposing commercial use here on the site. So the request, again, is a change in zoning from R5 to C1. You can see that there is a combination of R5 along Bluegrass Avenue as you go to the east, and then along Taylor Boulevard, you have a combination of C1 and C2 zonings. So the request before you is change the zoning from R5 to C1. The site's approximately 1.7 acres. They're proposing a neighborhood health center. No new construction is proposed. And then Taylor Boulevard, it is an arterial level roadway with a mixture of intensities and densities and zoning, as you saw on the map. So this is the development plan that was provided by the applicant. Again, there will be no new construction. They'd be utilizing the existing structures on the site, as well as existing parking and the existing curb cuts. So this is a photo of the site looking from Taylor Boulevard at the structure. This is another picture looking along Bluegrass Avenue. Adjacent properties. The applicant conducted their neighborhood meeting on March 26, 2024. The Land Development Transportation Committee meeting was on March 27, 2025. The Planning Commission public hearings on May 15, 2025, and there was a motion to recommend approval of this change in zoning from R5 to C1 that passed by a vote of 9-0. That's all I have unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Brian. I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Rui, who can speak to it, is in her district.
Thank you very much. So this is a former church, and as we know, churches and their size and their shape and everything can sometimes be a challenge for how to redevelop. So this is being redeveloped as a medical clinic. And we've met with the developer there, and he's hoping to eventually put in a nursing school. And he's eager to work with the community to ensure they still have access. There's a basketball court back there, and he's expressed very much interest in supporting our community. And so we are in full support of this development. But you can also let you know that makes the fourth corner on that intersection will be commercial. So you've got a body shop across Taylor Boulevard, you've got Thornton's Caddy Corner, and then you've got a Dollar General across Bluegrass. So that's all four corners of this commercial area. So I'm in full support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't think I have anybody else in the queue. Anybody else with questions or concerns? No questions and concerns. Cheryl, if you'll open up the roll call vote.
Councilmember Parrish Wright,
Yes.
Councilmember Foots. Voting's closing. Chair, you have 6 yes votes.
With 6 votes, this will be passed on to the old business on the Metro Council agenda. That was item number 7. We've done item number 8. We'll be holding numbers 9 and 10. I kind of want to skip to item number 13, which is 0-145-25, an ordinance relating to the planned development option for property located at 2004 Bank Street, containing approximately 0.12 acres and being in Louisville Metro. Case number 2025-CAT3-0001. Can I get a motion? Probably moved and seconded. Brian.
Okay, this is ordinance O-145-25 for Planning Commission docket number 25, CAT 30001 for Bank Street duplex. The property is located at 2004 Bank Street. It's located in Metro Council District 5. This is an outline of the property here in the turquoise. That's the existing structure, currently residential in nature. They are proposing to leave that. As you can see, this property is located near the intersection of Bank Street and 20th Street. So here is the zoning map of the area. The property is zoned UN, which is urban neighborhood. It's located in the traditional neighborhood form district. So the urban neighborhood, so the request before you today is for an urban neighborhood plan development option, which is something that is permitted in the Land Development Code, which would permit to convert the existing structure into 2 dwelling units. The site's approximately 0.12 acres. It's near the intersection of North 20th Street and Bank Street. They're proposing to utilize the plan development option available within the UN zoning district to convert this structure into a duplex. Off-street parking is available from the alley and on Bank Street. So this is the existing structure here. You can see the outline. The alley does come over, and then there's room for parking off-street behind the structure. The structure itself is the building footprint's approximately 1,454 square feet. This is a view of the property from Google Street View, looking from Bank Street at the front of the structure. These are some of the adjacent properties. So the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on this item on May 29th, 2025. There was a motion to recommend approval of the plan development option in the UN zoning district, and that passed by a vote of 9-0. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Brian. I don't want to belabor this point too much. I'm pretty unfamiliar with the UN zoning. How broad is that zoning across Jefferson County? Do we have a lot of places that have that zoning?
We don't have a lot of places. Now, one of the things that came out of the Portland neighborhood plan was a rezoning of a lot of the residential areas from R6 to UN. And so this was an area-wide rezoning. It was completed about 8 years ago, if I had to put a date on it.
And one of the differences in that zoning is this option to do a Category 3 review to go from 1 unit to 2?
That is correct, yeah. So there's a UN plan development option for that in the traditional neighborhood form district. And so, yeah, it's kind of a unique thing that's permitted, but when people request that, it has to go to the full planning commission and then on to Metro Council for final
And that's
vote.
that's what I was getting ready to say. It surprised me that with that built in, that it still has to go to the full planning commission and full Metro Council for review.
Right.
It's an
That's
interesting, it seems like it ought to be a quick and easy thing with a Category 3 review, but then it has to go through the full process, which seems surprising to me, but.
Correct.
Okay, so we did a similar thing. It wasn't the UN zoning, I think, in our last meeting in District 5. I have not heard from Councilwoman Purvis on this, but since she approved the one that we did last week that was very similar, changing a single family into a duplex, my suggestion is to go ahead and pass this through to full council. Anybody else have any questions or concerns about this? Cheryl, can you open up the roll call vote?
Voting's open. Councilmember Parrish Wright.
Yes.
Voting's closing. Chair, you have 6 yes votes.
Thank you. With 6 yes votes, this will be moved on to old business on the Metro Council agenda.
Mr. Chair, for what it's worth, this could go to consent because it's not a rezoning, but
Let's move it to consent then. And if Councilwoman, I'll make a note to check with Councilwoman Purvis if she wants to move it to old business. Thank you, Travis. So it's 2:35. We have 2 more items on the agenda that are ordinance relating to transitional housing. I'm somewhat hesitant to get started. I don't know how long these are going to take. Are these Travis, are these items that have a time frame on them?
they don't, other than council's own sort of 6-month, it'll die in theory. But as long as the planning commission, as long as the planning commission has issued its recommendation, you all have a long period of time to respond to LDC changes.
Okay, Brian, unless it's,
I think the.
are you guys really wanting us to move this?
I think the
quickly?
R5A to R5B transitional housing one should go quickly.
Okay.
The other one, if you want to weigh on that, then I think that would probably be a good idea because we don't have a whole lot of new business coming to you all.
Okay.
So when we
All right.
come back,
Well,
we
then-
can really spend some time on it.
Then we'll hold item 11, and we'll move on then to item 12, which is 0-140-25, an ordinance amending section 4.3.14 of the Louisville Metro Land Development Code regarding density occupancy requirements for transitional housing permitted by right with special standards in R5A and R5B zoning districts, case number 24-LDC-0012. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Properly moved and seconded.
Ready? Good afternoon, Joe Haberman, Office of Planning.
Okay, thank you, Joel.
So this is a relatively straightforward amendment. So the reason why we took up this project was at the request of Metro Council, a resolution was passed asking us to take a look at the density allowed for transitional housing very narrowly in the R5A and R5B zoning districts. And the code uses the term density, but we are trying to clarify that it really means occupancy in this context. It's not the number of dwelling units necessarily, it's the number of people that can be on the site, the number of beds. At the same meeting, council also passed an ordinance imposing a temporary moratorium on these types of applications until we are able to complete our review. Just for some history, the initial occupancy density standards were put into place in 2010. That is when council created the transitional housing use type. Previously, they were regulated a little bit differently, some as boarding homes, some as rehabilitation homes. There was some additional clarity added at that point. Then 10 years later, we started doing some additional revisions to update those regulations that were adopted later in 2021, where we added some improvements to the standards and some other things related to transitional housing. But this particular provision, the occupancy allowed on any of the zoning districts, not just R5A and R5B, they were not adjusted at that time. We did not, as part of that process, get a lot of feedback one way or the other that the occupancy allowances were inappropriate. And I'll just, to clarify, this might be on the next slide, but the way it works is there's essentially a by right occupancy allowance. If you don't meet that, then you apply for a conditional use permit. So there's not necessarily a cap in the zoning. There might be a cap by building code or other occupancy requirements. But basically, if you are under this limit, you can be approved administratively with the license. And in some cases, you might need some building permits, but you don't need to go to a hearing. If you go over that limit, you have to have a hearing, which is usually by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. If in concert with a rezoning, it could be heard by the Planning Commission. So just so that everybody understands how we approach transitional housing, there's several types of group housing that we regulate: boarding homes, transitional housing, and rehabilitation homes, and to a degree, homeless shelters. They all have their own unique standards, their own unique places where they're allowed by right, where they're allowed by right if they meet some standards, and where a conditional use requirement is there. And in some cases, there's zoning districts where they may be prohibited. But generally, transitional housing is allowed everywhere conventional housing is allowed, and that was part of the 2010 ordinance, was to make sure that that was clear. So again, this has to do exclusively with R5A and R5B. So the way the formula works now as to what is allowed by right, it is you take the density that is allowed for the number of dwelling units on the property. That is kind of the key component, as well as the average family size, not household size, as set forth in the census. So if the building is a dwelling unit, it's 12 per acre. If it is constructed under commercial code, it's 35 per acre, because you multiply that further by the average family size. I'll just note that while the code allows those two options, it's the current interpretation by codes and regs that all these structures need to meet commercial code. In effect, you're looking at the second number. So for R5A, you're looking at 35 people per acre is what it's allowed. That's the occupancy. And R5B, it's a little bit different. The density is based on lots, not necessarily based on the acreage of those lots. So it's 2 per lot if the structure is built as a dwelling unit under residential code. It's 5 per lot if it's built under commercial code. And again, as of now, we require all these to meet the commercial code. So it's really 5 per lot. So since 2021, when we last did that update, we have received comments through enforcement action, through some other reviews of the licensing applications, and some people are concerned that when you have a very large R5A property, it could result in a very high occupancy, because one thing that the requirement currently doesn't take into consideration is how many dwelling units are on site. It just is, this is the number of people that can be on that property based on that formula that I just showed you. So you could have more or less units than normally allowed, and normally it's going to be less, but if your zoning allows 12 dwelling units, you're not required to have 12. You might only have 1 or a fewer number. In some cases, it might be more in non-conforming situations. You might have a situation where it was built before that zoning was applied, so it has a higher number. So, but the reality is the formula doesn't tie into that, so you can end up with a very high number and only 1 building on the property. So again, looking at R5A and R5B, while they are classified as multifamily zones in the Land Development Code, they're a little bit different. They have the lowest densities than others. That's why they're kind of subsets of R5. And in R5A, what you see is generally single-family housing, even though it's multifamily. It's multifamily typically per lot, not necessarily multifamily in construction. So you see a lot of attached and detached structures. And then in R5B, you typically see duplexes. It's more of a 2-family zoning. So this is a map that is probably a little bit difficult to read, but the point of the map is to show that these districts are located throughout Jefferson County. They're not necessarily isolated in one area or another. You can find them pretty much in every council district, and we're looking at a little bit over 3,000 parcels that are zoned R5A and a little bit over 1,000 parcels that are zoned R5B. And just another note, this is probably the most minor changes in there. The family size as is dictated by census. So in the example that's in the code now, it's 2.98. Since the 2010, that number has gone down very modestly to 2.97. The code as it's written contemplates change, so it's okay. We use 2.97 now, but we just want to update that. But while we're doing that, it refers to decennial data, and decennial data doesn't capture family size. It captures household size, which is a different number. It's usually a little bit lower because it takes into account one-person households. So to address the concern that council set forth in the resolution, we can continue to allow transitional housing in R5A and R5B, but we can adjust that by right density down to the same standard that we use for the single-family zones, which is 3 per dwelling unit or lot. That's what it is for single-family. Doesn't matter what type of single-family, it's 3 per lot. If you go above that, you need a conditional use permit. So we're not saying if you go above 3, you can't do it. We're saying now you need to have a hearing. The Board of Zoning Adjustment can look at that case, look at any circumstances and either deny it or add additional conditions to make sure that neighbors don't have any adverse impacts on them. And then we also just want to reorganize that section. As it's written now, it's a long meandering paragraph that is very difficult to read. We wanted to break it apart by the 3 distinct situations for zoning to kind of clarify what applies in each zoning category. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to reformat that to make it easier to read. That's why it looks like there's a lot more changes than there are with strike-through and underlines. So with that, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on May 15th, 2015. They voted unanimously to recommend approval of this change, not only to Metro Council, but to the cities with suburban zoning authority. And one member was absent, and the Planning Committee held their meeting to review the application or the case on April 21st, 2025. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Joe. Councilwoman Rue.
Thank you very much. So my first question regards with conditional use permits for short-term rentals. If they're having problems with short-term rental, we can pull their CUP. That can be as a penalty. And there's no such thing over here with a group home. And we know that not all of our group homes are operated reputably. And I would like to see some sort of an enforcement mechanism added to ensure that if they're not doing things in the way that we wish, that their CUP or whatever can be pulled.
So good news there, it's not in the draft that I provided because it's in a later section and I was trying to keep it as condensed as possible. In 2021, we added something similar to transitional housing and rehabilitation homes and boarding homes that we had in place for short-term rentals. So in summary, we can revoke any conditional use permit for noncompliance with the terms of the conditional use permit. We don't need to have special language to that. But what we did for transitional housing in 2021 is we added language that would automatically trigger that process, which is 2 substantiated complaints in a, I believe, 1-year period. So that's already on the books. We always can take a look at that and see if that's, appropriate moving forward. But there is something in there. But even if it weren't in there, we can always revoke a conditional use permit. There's a process for it. It's set forth in state law. We have to have a revocation hearing, but it's something that we can do.
Okay, I'm very glad to hear that. Then my next question involves density of transitional housing units because they seem to be falling into the same neighborhoods over and over again. And I know this is a very complicated one, and it's something that's going to entail greater discussion, but I would like to see some sort of an addition to the ordinance that prevents an overwhelming density.
So again, we're now seeing the implementation of the 2021 changes. I'll note that in 2021, council had that concern, and their solution at that time was to add a 1,000-foot separation requirement between sites requiring the conditional use permit. So that has already been implemented and is part of the review for conditional use. What often comes up is it doesn't take into account the ones that are permitted by right or the ones that are in existence unlawfully, but there is an attempt at trying to address that issue in the existing ordinance, but it's only been in effect for 4 years.
Okay, so at this point, as noted, we have ones that are operating unlawfully that don't have to meet that standard. So I still have concerns about this, and I would like to discuss this further at some later date. Thank you.
Councilman Hudson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to preface all my comments here with, I'm about as dumb as a bag of hammers when it comes to this topic. So my questions are going to be to help educate me on this, on transitional housing. If a single-family home in neighborhood X has 30 people living in it, is that something that would fall under the definition of transitional housing, or is that just a violation of the code?
It will depend. So first off, there's occupancy requirements that a large number of people in what was built and permitted as a single-family home that they will have to meet regardless, whether it's just a regular conventional rental, a boarding home, transitional home. They'll have to meet those, and it's basically for the sleeping areas, you need a certain square footage. So that's a property maintenance regulation that addresses this issue. But as far as the difference between transitional and other types of group housing, A boarding home is typically where each boarder rents a room. That's how we define it. So they shouldn't really be sharing rooms the way the ordinance is written. Those have to be licensed to be legal. Then you have transitional housing where they can share a room. They're still held to those occupancy standards, so they can't put a lot of people in a space unless it meets those requirements in the property maintenance code. But the difference between transitional housing and boarding home is there's transitional housing in the ordinance is a temporary situation for the tenants or the occupants, and there's some kind of supportive service as part of the housing, whether that's, bridging from homelessness or recovery housing. There's something there that they're getting some kind of support to move on to another housing. And then you have the rehabilitation homes, which are more non-residential in nature, sometimes have medical components or more security components to them, and those always required a conditional use permit. So there's kind of a spectrum that you go across. So transitional is kind of in the middle. It's group housing with some supportive services.
But the example I'm looking for is, that fits none of those definitions. It's just a big family living in a 3-bedroom house.
So
Is that, would that be something that would be cited by?
not necessarily by zoning. We would look at whether they live as a housekeeping establishment, truly living as one household. If they pass that test, it's not a zoning concern, but then property maintenance can look at the occupancy requirements and see if they're exceeding those, and that could be a violation of having too many people in a structure.
Yeah.
And that requirement's in Metro Code, I believe, Chapter 156.
Right. Thank you, Chair.
Councilman Batchon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, I put this resolution up a couple months back, and I just want to thank you, Joe, for your work on this and your team. So a couple questions I want to get some clarity on, and we can kind of move forward. Can you explain the by right requirements on this?
The standards or the process?
Yeah, from the first or second slide that you had up there that explained that, if you have this, you're by right allowed to do this, and if you're not, you have to get the CUP.
Okay, so generally in the Land Development Code, you have by right uses that you can just do if you meet the definition of that use. Then you have by right with standards, which you can do if you meet all of those standards. So with transitional housing, there are several standards that you have to meet to be permitted by right. So occupancy is one of them. So this is probably the most important one, but there's several other ones that you have to meet in terms of being able to be allowed without a special process or a conditional use permit. If you are by right with special standards, you need a license from the Office of, or the Department of Codes and Regulations, an annual license, which they review for zoning compliance, building code compliance, and compliance with other agencies, and that's issued annually, and there's a right of inspection. So if you are permitted by right, that's where you would fall under. If you don't meet any of those other standards, you have to go to the Board of Zoning Adjustment and get a conditional use permit. Then you still need that annual license where it could be inspected each year.
Okay, second question, just so to be clear, this amendment puts R5A and R5B in the same category as R4, capping the occupancy to being 3 beds, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At this moment, I don't think I have any further questions. I think we have more to come to this, but at this moment, I think we can move.
I don't have anybody else in the queue. We're at 2:55.
I had a question.
Councilwoman Parrish-Wright.
Thank you. I just wanted to state that I know there's been a lot of work on this, so I know that Councilman Bachchan has worked on this, and I think it's a step in the right direction. I also know that those of us who have smaller cities in their district, that means that, like, for instance, for the city of Shively, there's a whole process for that as well, and I think there's a little more alignment with some of that stuff, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to make sure that there's clarity and equity for how people do this, because in what I've seen as I've door knocked all over the city is that some people are doing this on their own. They've let people come live with them and things like that. And I've never seen like 30 people living in the place, but I have seen where people had people staying there through they just got out of jail, they're transitioning, or even medical respite because they have nowhere to stay. So I think there's more to this, but I think right now, I think that if we have more understanding, this is a step in the right direction. So I want to thank you all for working on it.
Thank you. We have very little time left. I know that their time is of the essence on this, but I do think that it's a fairly complicated issue. I feel a little bit like Councilman Hudson on this, but and it's not because we're not the brightest bulbs, Councilman Hudson, but it's because it's pretty complicated between the different transitional and boarding house and that sort of thing. So I don't know how the committee feels, but I think tabling it and coming back to it at our next meeting makes sense to me. But if that's not something you guys want to do, I'm okay with going ahead and voting as well.
Can I speak, please?
Yeah.
So with the questions are very valid. What we have in the works is we've worked with codes and regs and the state with a new program that they have to certify transitional housing businesses. And if codes and regs is to get a complaint in regards to what they think is a transitional house, KPAR will go and inspect to make sure that these folks are certified in conjunction with codes and regs to make sure these people are in line and are abiding by the law. And we have that coming very soon to the committee. So I think this is the step in the right direction to get to that step.
So by that, do you feel comfortable going ahead and voting on this piece?
Yes.
And then having the other one come and voting on that?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or concerns about this? And otherwise, we'll go ahead and have a vote. Okay, Cheryl, open the voting, please.
Vote is open. Committee Member Paris Wright.
Yes.
Thank you. Voting's closing. Chair, you have 7 yes votes.
Thank you. With 7 yes votes, this will be forwarded to old business on the Metro Council agenda.
It can go consent if you'd like.
I think we might want to have a little discussion about it. Can you be prepared to just give us a kind of some context and let us know where things stand?
Yes.
Councilman Batchon?
Yes.
Great. I think going on old business makes sense for this one. Okay, we did make it through our agenda today, so that was good work. Thanks for being patient, and without further business in front of us, we are adjourned.